Yeah, I was recently talking to a friend and this all these documentaries and things about the impact of colorism or talking about colorism, and she's like, "But when are we actually going to get something that adds value on how to really deal with it?" And so I hope that this video will be that. I mean, you'll tell me. So if you're curious on ways that you can actually love your own skin, love the skin that you're in a color-struck world, then this video is for you. Hi, I'm Brittany Rochelle. I'm an anger alchemist teaching you how to alchemize your rage to live a magnificently melanated life. And today I'm tackling a topic that I've wanted to talk about for a long time, which is colorism. I think so often we know and talk about and have intellectual discussions and documentaries and light girls and dark girls too. And then I don't know if there's a third light girl, just a lot of discussion about the impact and the real life applications of colorism in our world, not just in the Black community, but in literally all communities of color, and literally why skin bleaching is a multi-billion-dollar industry, something that I talk about in my free ebook, Melanin Reclamation. But we don't really think about and really I haven't seen many discussions around the impact that this has in our body. And my work as a somatic coach is really helping to guide us out of incessant talking or intellectualizing, but to get familiar with our bodies. And in this video, I'm going to share with you an amazing process and free tools of how you can start to engage and heal the impact and the legacy of colorism that lives in your own melanated body. So keep watching. Okay, fair warning, this is going to be a long ass video because it's a really important video. So if you don't like long videos, then I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to do. So one of my key teachers and leaders in this field has been Resmaa Menakem. In his book, My Grandmother's Hands, he helps so many of us understand that the impact of racism, the impact of 400 years of oppression of Black people in the United States is more than just an intellectual discussion. It's more than YouTube videos talking about it. It lives in the real physical world of our own body. It lives in our nervous systems. It lives even in our cells. And there's so much around epigenetics and in our DNA around this level of survival and needing to really learn how to live a life and be able to live in a world that is systemically trying to kill you in so many ways. And I think that when we talk about colorism, from my own personal conversations about it, from documentaries and books and articles I've read about it, I think this somatic approach is often so left out. And I think that, as Gabrielle Union talks about in her incredible book, We're Gonna Need More Wine, telling dark-skinned girls to just love the skin you're in, or say that you're Black is beautiful, which is all absolutely true. But if we don't talk about the deeper lasting impact and the way that shows up in our bodies, in our own images of ourselves and others, and our own ideas around what our self-worth is and around our perception of our value in the greater world, then we're really doing ourselves a disservice. And yes, I believe that loving ourselves, seeing the beauty in Black skin is so important and incredibly critical and is ultimately the medicine and the solution. But I think we can't really get there unless we fully understand and appreciate the impact that this has in our own bodies and approach this issue of healing colorism in our own world and then in the world at large through a somatic or body-based lens. And I also want to say that I think this colorism work is so important for melanated people of really any hue, because even those of us who by whatever standards might have lighter skin than another person, I think all of us are impacted by this idea of there's always someone lighter than you, or there's always someone who has a looser curl pattern than you, or who has green eyes or blue eyes, or in some way looks closer to white than you do. And it really does truly affect not only our self-esteem or thinking about dating or romantic prospects, but there are studies around how this affects our real professional aspects, financial aspects of people with lighter skin or people who look closer to European standard being given opportunities, unjustified, undeserved privileges simply because they look closer to the dominant caste or the colonizers. And this legacy, this impact of colorism affects also our history and our own understanding of ourselves. And I think that this is so important to talk about, and specifically women like Claudette Colvin, who refused to give up her seat on a bus well before Rosa Parks. And yet, because she was a dark-skinned girl and because she did not have long flowing hair or wasn't like half Native American as Rosa Parks was, she was not chosen. And I think that colorism and hair politics played a large part in who we get to learn in history and who is acceptable and appropriate to study or whose life matters in the way that we see ourselves and the way that we learn our own history. So I've created a completely somatic based toolkit, if you will, which I'm calling the Decolonizing Beauty Toolkit, which is all about colorism, hair politics, and several things that really guides you through these practices where you get back in touch with your body. And it kind of is like a somatic playground where you let yourself body storm. If you don't know what that is, check out other videos, but essentially where you let your body have control instead of like brainstorming where you think up all these ideas with your mind. You let yourself body storm. So that might mean shaking, it might mean dancing, it might mean kicking, it might mean crying or rocking or whatever your body wants to do in relation to this topic of colorism. So in this epic like free toolkit of practices, I'm going to guide you through first acknowledging and getting curious about the way that colorism, the way being told that you are as valuable as someone who looks closer to white, where that lives in your own body and what comes up from you in a way that's stored in your nervous system. And this is something that we often don't talk about when we have these super intellectual conversations about the lasting impact of transgenerational racial terror and colorism. From a super heady cerebral place, I'm going to encourage you to bring it down into your body and to get curious on where this lives in your physical soma. As I said earlier, believe that love and compassion is the key to healing our own ingrained sense and belief around the color of our skin, around darker hues, around lighter hues, and really calling in this level of love and support and care for our own bodies and for our own nervous systems after we've really witnessed and had the ability to somatically release the stored trauma around real systemic imprint that colorism and general oppression leaves in our own body. So I encourage you to check out the link below. I'm so excited to share this toolkit with you, and I'm so excited to talk about these topics in a way that is truly somatic, in a way that's body-based. So check it out. And if you want even more free content, I invite you to check out my totally free ebook, Melanin of Reclamation. I share so much more of my own story around colorism, around skin bleaching, and my own journey to love and to empower myself in a Black body. Thank you so much for watching. I cannot wait for you to check out my Decolonizing Beauty Toolkit. I love you, and I hope that this is helpful.